Ariel Helwani in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, alongside Alexis Davis, who meets Rosi Sexton this Saturday night at UFC 161 live on pay-per-view. Alexis, good to see you. Welcome to the UFC. We saw you in February before the first fight. Here you are before your fight, your debut in the UFC. And what's interesting about this story, you made your MMA debut in this very town, just a block from here at the convention center. What do you remember about that? Unfortunately, you lost to Sarah Kaufman, but that whole experience and how far you've come in, what, 6 years or so?
Yeah, I can't really say I remember too much. I think I got a lot of hits to the head in that fight. But just the experience, it's so different now between, 6 years ago, of course, the emotions that just go through you. But now it's a whole new world being a part of the UFC. So once again, I kind of have to deal with that. But I think it's, more experience, the better I am at.
When you were starting out, when you were having that fight, your first couple fights, did you ever think, even in the back of your mind, that this was a possibility, fighting in the UFC?
And back then, no. I had no idea. I was just doing it for fun. I was just, it was more like a hobby than anything. I was just going to kind of, see where it went from there.
So it was just kind of a hobby for you. You didn't think you would actually have a career in this?
No idea. I had no idea. I was working a full-time job, training at the time, I just thought I'd do it for fun and, kind of see where it went. I never, even back then, there was, very little fights. We were taking fights on short notice, doing catch weights constantly. I never thought it would get to this level.
At what point did you start to think, I could actually make a career in MMA and I can actually be very good in this sport, one of the best? When did that start to change for you?
I think it was really only a couple of years back when I was fighting for Raging Wolf and, the level was getting higher and higher, and I was fighting some of the top females at the time, and I thought to myself, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I always wanted to be involved in some sort of martial arts because obviously you can't fight forever. So it's something I think at that time that I was like, okay, this is what I was meant to do. I never knew what else I wanted to do before, but this is the path I want to take.
When Strikeforce merged with the UFC, when the women were brought over, everyone assumed that you were coming over as well. She wasn't really on the radar. A, because she wasn't a part of Zuffa. B, she usually fights at 125. What did you think when they called you up and said you're fighting Rosi Sexton? Of course you know her, but that she was coming over with you and you were fighting her in your debut.
You know what? That kind of threw me for a loop too when I'm like, Rosi Sexton? Obviously it's a smaller MMA community. I knew who she was, and I was like, I thought she was fighting lower, and actually, I was excited for the fight. She's been doing this sport for years longer than I have been doing it, and a lot of people consider me a veteran of the sport. So I was excited. I was pumped for the fight.
Do you think your size, though, will play an advantage in your favor? Because even at 135, she's a very small woman.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't usually happen too often for me that I actually have a height and reach advantage. So I'm hoping to be able to capitalize on that, and it's something that I've been obviously pushing for and striving for in my game. So
it seems like many people are picking you in this fight. It seems like a lot of people want to see you fight Ronda Rousey, and I'm sure you hear of all this talk, right? How do you not let that affect you and not look past Rosi Sexton?
I'm usually pretty good at that. I know, a fighter, especially at this level, you're at the UFC, you're not going to take a fight to lose. So I know she's going to be coming out there, just as much, wanting to win as I do. So I can't look past her. If I look past her, I'm going to get caught with something. And next thing you know, she's going to have, maybe my arm or my back or, get knocked out. So I got to stay focused. Like I'm still, even to this day, watching video, just thinking, okay, what is Rosi going to do? What do I have to do to get that win? And then I'll worry about what's next for me.
We're talking to you on a Thursday. The fight is around 48 hours or so away. How do you feel, nerves, mentally, leading up to this fight? Biggest fight of your career, a lot different than Strikeforce and those other organizations. How does it feel?
It hasn't been too bad. I think the UFC doesn't really let it set in because they keep you so busy. I never had this level of media attention or anything dealing with Strikeforce. I'm on the main card, and I'm up 8 o'clock in the morning doing media yesterday, and just constantly busy. So it hasn't really kind of soaked in yet.
Has it been hard to balance? You're obviously here for a job, training, and then all these interviews. I've seen you do a lot, and especially you're Canadian in Canada. I mean, has that been hard for you?
For me, it's more of the outside interviews. I know my obligations that I want to get, UFC obviously dealt with first, but it's, you know, the messages from everybody on the outside. Oh, I got this blog, radio show, want to interview, and it's really hard for me to say no. But, you know, I got coaches and stuff like that. Like, okay, you know, you got to be able to balance because I still got to get my training in too. You know, it may be fight week, but you still have to keep your body active as well too.
You watched the Rousey fight, and then Misha and Kat, you know, they almost had a more exciting fight in a way. And then, you know, the Sarah McMahon finish was fun. When you were watching all that happening and you knew you were on deck, did that give you, you know, goosebumps, motivation, excitement, saying, okay, I need to top these girls. I need to make it better. I need to make it more exciting. Not only that, I need to keep this ball rolling.
You know, it adds a little bit of extra pressure, but you know, I know as a fighter and the type of fighter that I am, that I'm usually good at entertaining the fans. You know, I don't think I've had a boring fight, but she's going to come out, you know, if you watch any of her films, she's a very aggressive fighter as well. So I think, you know, it's going to be a great fight. You know, it's going to be, you know, a nonstop, and I have no doubt in my mind, even with majority of the women's fights that we're always coming out, we're looking for, you know, not just the win, but, you know, we're looking for that decisive win.
I know when we spoke in February, you said you wanted to fight Ronda right away, but now that she's coaching the show, that fight's going to happen in December. We're June. Have you kind of come to terms with the fact that you'll probably have to fight again if you win on Saturday before fighting for the belt?
Yeah, but you know what? You got to think of things, you know, in a positive way, that I feel like I get better with every fight. So the longer that, you know, UFC or Dana White makes me wait for the fight, the worse it's going to be for whoever's holding that title at the time.
Are you okay with fighting again after this fight?
Oh, of course. You know, I like to keep busy. You know, you don't want to get, you know, they say ring rust, you know, you want to be able, or octagon. Yeah. So, you know, I don't mind. I like to keep busy, and, you know, it just helps to improve my game more and more the more I fight.
How do you win on Saturday?
You know, anything with a W, I'm quite happy with. Yeah. It doesn't matter how it happens. Well, you know, I don't want her to get injured. Right. Yeah, but you know, doctor stoppage, a cut or submission, knockout. I'm happy either way.
Cool with any of that?
Yeah, I'm not hard to please.
You just want to get that W. You want to avenge that loss against Sarah Kaufman back in 2007. You just get back on the winning track.
I want the fans to be entertained. You know, I want it to be a good fight.
We can't wait for it. Such an exciting fight. Good luck to you. Welcome to the UFC.
Thank you. Thanks.